What's up, guys, and welcome back to the infamous project. Back down here in Texas after an amazing trip up to Detroit and the Woodward Dream Cruise last weekend. So many cool cars, so much creativity, and just you see so many things you just wouldn't normally see on the street. But over there, it's like anything goes, and it was just fun to catch up with some friends that I haven't seen for a long time and just kind of chill, relax, watch some cars, and well, procure some old cars. So if you guys watched the last video, you would have seen that I talked about picking up Project Blue Brother once again. And here it sits, looking all nice and shiny because I got it all washed up after the long trailer ride back down from Michigan. And I wanted to kind of do a little recap on this car and share with you guys some of the history and the information, as I know some people are probably newer to the channel. And the last time this thing really got camera action was back in, I want to say maybe 2018, when I went through it and changed up quite a bit on the car in terms of the looks and appearance. And well, it's actually kind of almost gone through another iteration of looks and appearance compared to when I sold it. The interesting part about this car, and I guess the whole name Blue Brother, is the fact that this car was actually in the same family as my silver coupe that's sitting underneath the car cover over there, which is actually the perfect excuse and opportunity to do a little photo op with both cars parked next to one another, because the owner of my Silver Notch, well, his brother owned this car. And that's why this is ultimately called the Blue Brother. So oddly enough, the brother didn't end up with the car, the father did. And the father was an older gentleman. The clutch in this thing is a monster. It's a center force, and it takes a lot. And in fact, I'm gonna go into what I've already had to do in order to make this car a little bit more operable. But again, he was older, having troubles putting that clutch pedal in. I believe he had a hip replacement. And, you know, he was ready to sell the car. So I ended up with both the cars in the end from the family. Both cars were actually featured in Mustang magazines. I believe my silver one was in Muscle Mustangs and Fast Forwards, as well as 5.0 Mustang. And I think this guy was just in 5.0 Mustang. But both cars that were recognizably built, especially north of the border up in Canada. Both these cars are kind of two completely different beasts. So this guy had over 100,000 kilometers when I got it. My Silver Notch, which I'm sure anybody who's watching this channel is very familiar with, you know, this thing had 21,000 kilometers on it when I bought it. Although the engine had some bolt-ons on the silver car, this thing was just the definition of originality and low miles, being original paint. And man, it was just a time capsule to find. Versus the blue car actually had a little bit of history. The car actually got stolen back in the day. It was recovered, and they had actually smashed out one of the rear quarter windows, and that ultimately got replaced, but the whole car ended up getting repainted. It got the Saleen Kit put on. It has a fiberglass trunk lid, and it had a Cobra R style double bubble hood, which ultimately I'm not a huge fan of. And I'm happy to see that the owner that I got the car back off of, he actually went to steel cowl hood. So that actually cleaned that aspect up. Now, this car is a monster. It's a 347 stroker running an intercooled ProCharger. And man, this thing, it's only running about 6 pounds of boost, but like just the power, the way it pulls, the way it feels is just awesome. So maybe we'll do a little road test in this car here in a few minutes, because I also want to get it outside so I can show you guys this lovely sonic blue paint that was done almost 2 decades ago and still shining so nice. I swear paint was just it was way better back in the day. All these newer paint technologies, I don't know. The durability, in my opinion, just isn't there. You know, I've already got tons of stone chips on the front of the strawberry car, and this was only painted, what, 6 years ago, if that. And we have 20 years here and there's hardly a stone chip on the front. With that said, let's get into a couple more details about the car. So you can go ahead and check out those videos of when I first got it. You're gonna see I did a complete black interior conversion on it. I went through and upgraded the suspension because obviously I wanted to sit down a little bit nicer. I changed the wheels and the tires. I added the Saleen wing on it, did the smoke tail lights. My friend Mike from Awesome Installs did a full audio system and reverse camera setup on it. So that was all done. And I'm trying to think of what else I went through on it. But that was kind of the basics ultimately of what I had done just to really change the look. Like the car was kind of ugly. I don't even have a better choice of words. The bullet wheels just didn't suit the car. Again, the double bubble hood, it looked a little bit better. I think after the mods and the car got dropped down a little bit. Also added the smoked headlights in the front. So a lot of cosmetic things really went into the build and just transformational in terms of the way that it looks. Powertrain hasn't changed much whatsoever. So before I go any further into some of the transformations that's been done about the car, let's go ahead and pull it outside because the sun is out and I want to show you guys this Sonic Blue paint. Here. That way you can kind of, well, you're not going to be able to feel the power, but you might be able to hear a little bit of it or maybe see my facial expressions. But yeah, it's a hot one in Texas. This car does not have AC. In fact, it has no options. No power windows, no power door locks, no cruise, no AC, no trunk release. The only thing it has is rear window defrost, which definitely isn't going to be needed down here in the 7th. So you can see I'm sitting in the black interior. Like I said, I had fully converted this to a real black interior. And I actually had Recaro SEs in the car. When I sold it, he actually ended up taking those out and putting these Carvos in here. It's got a lot of power. I'd say, like in terms of comparables, I gotta kind of give you guys something to relate or compare to here, is that built 408 that was in the Reef Blue car that was all motor. Like that one just impressed the shit out of me because it was just so raw and so, man, it was a monster. This car probably feels the same, but with boost is probably the best way to describe it. So it's a beast for sure. Maybe not as impressive because, well, it's got a power adder on it, but the ProCharger works great. I'm not sure what tune is in the car.
I know that there's a lot of room to probably change out the pulley, do another tune, probably squeeze out. I bet you'd easily get another 100 horse out of this thing, because right now I think it's only sitting at about 450 to the wheels, somewhere around there. Now the transmission is still in fact a T5, so there's been no upgrades there. I believe the rear end's got 355s in it, and the brakes are really good, so those have been actually upgraded to calipers that have Saleen written on them. Does that mean they're actual Saleen calipers? I do not know. I'm gonna have to, maybe actually I'll post a close-up of the calipers in this video and you guys can tell me. But the clutch is working a million times better. Now, if you guys have ever witnessed some of these 6-puck center forces, you know they're kind of either on or they're off. So you really got to be able to massage the clutch. And they actually had the cable on the first point of the quadrant instead of the second, which kind of removed the whole idea of more of a pulley and the ability to really rotate the quadrant to make the clutch pedal a little easier to use. So thankfully, I put the clutch cable on, you know, the furthest hook and readjusted the cable down on the clutch fork, and the clutch pedal's a million times better than it was. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the little bit of a road test. We'll get back to the house. We'll get into some more details because, well, one thing that I haven't shared with you ultimately, at least not in this video, I might have got the car back, but I'm not keeping it. So we'll get into those details here in a minute. Let me do a little bit of Insta photography here, and then we'll meet you back at the shop. All right, so I just finished my photo ops. Got to do stuff for the gram, got to do stuff for YouTube. You guys know how it goes. And, you know, the car drives really good. I'm really happy with the clutch pedal, and I'm sure my friend Charles is going to love it even more. So, Charles, aka Cotter Factory, really good friend of mine down here in Texas, and I corrupted him into the Foxbody scene. So, it took him long enough, but as I mentioned in the Woodward video, this is just one of those cars that you do not want to pass up. You know, everything has been done, and you can pretty much just get in the car, turn the key, with the exception of the fact that the starter solenoid, I think, is going out in it. So that needs to be changed, but there's always something that needs to be done to the Foxbody. So we'll get the starter solenoid addressed, making sure that he can just turn the key and drive this thing. So there's really not much that needs to be done to this car, just a couple little tweaks. Myself and Charles both weren't a fan of the Saleen sticker package that's been put on the car, but the more So maybe the stickers will stay. We'll see how Charles feels about them. Definitely want to get rid of the old man hearse shifter on here. I feel like I'm driving my Viper truck with how long the throw is. So go back to normal trim plate here, maybe like a leather wrapped Cobra shift knob or something. But we'll talk more about the car when we get home. I'm sure there's tons of wind noise. I need the windows down to keep the air circulating.
Obviously, I couldn't resist pulling out the older brother to be next to Blue Brother so I could get both the cars in the same clip. So that's right, guys. If you remember, older brother, younger brother ended up going to the father of both the brothers. And then that's when I got the car. And then I went to a gentleman that I went to high school with. He was adamant that he got a car that I had my hands on, which was super cool, and I was humbled by it and given the opportunity to, you know, do the interior conversion and all the aesthetics and the changes that I did. But he went even a step further. So he was trying to get the ultimate Saleen cloned look. So he added the full Saleen stripe sticker package. You got the racecraft suspension sticker on the fender there. You got the windshield banner. And he went as far, you know, he was trying to get the gauges. Now, unfortunately, these gauges, like the font's not even right. Like the A is a normal A and not the Saleen style A. So might have to upgrade those gauges. He did install a wideband gauge and a boost gauge in the vents and the center vent dash pad there. However, they only work when the lights are on. So there's a power source issue. Clearly he was trying to rob power from the light switch, and great from illumination, but obviously you don't want to always have your lights on to be able to see what your air fuel mixture is going for, right? Other than that, he added some Saleen floor mats, so you can see those, and the seats were changed. So he wanted a rear seat delete initially, which I had installed in the car, and I had the Recaro SEs in here, and then he opted to put a rear seat back in the car, and then he swapped to Corbeaus. And funny enough, I got the Recaro SEs back off of him, and those are what are in the Dutch number 5 car now. I wanted to get your guys' feedback on these calipers. I don't know if these are just, you know, your run-of-the-mill Brembos or something else, and he just put Saleen stickers on there, because it does seem like a sticker. So I'm not sure which brake setup this is, but it does look the part. All right, so one other thing that he did, he actually got a Saleen plaque underneath the hood here, which I wanted to look at a little bit closer, so I'll share that with you guys now. So here's this plaque. So we got Saleen SV or SN, I'm assuming that's what that's supposed to say, because it doesn't look like that's punched very well. 0598. So I don't know, not sure where you get these done. I don't know if it's off eBay, some China thing or whatever. Like I said, he was really trying to go for the part. You can see the intake was swapped out as well. It actually had a set of Cobra intakes on it beforehand, and unfortunately he sold those off, because I would have loved to have had my hands on a set of Cobra intakes. But from a mechanical standpoint and everything else in this car, really nothing needs to be done other than the starter solenoid. I need to take a look at that, because it's hiding down there. So gonna have to see if there's maybe a loose terminal or just the solenoid is starting to go. If it's just the solenoid starting to go, that's not a big deal. I got lots of those laying around. All right, guys, so let's talk about the clutch cable and quadrant setup in the car, and we'll do a little diagram on the famous LMR box over here. And, you know, I stress that I love a stock quadrant with the self-adjuster and all that stuff, but sometimes we end up with a car that has a billet quadrant in it, like this one. This one has 2 positions that the cable can go on that quadrant. Plus it's got a firewall adjuster, and plus the cable itself is adjustable down near the clutch fork. So you kind of got 3 different places where you can adjust things for that clutch cable. All right, guys, let's draw this out. So got the main pivot point for your quadrant. Your quadrant's just kind of like this. And, you know, here's your firewall. Here's your half moon of your quadrant, and your cable's coming through. So what was going on with this car is it actually had a position where you could hook your cable in here versus being able to go all the way to the top here. So by the cable being here, what was going on is that if you can imagine such a stiff clutch pedal and you only have this much of the rotating force, you know, you're really almost just kind of pushing straight without getting a really good rotation from the billet quadrant setup. So what I did is I loosened off the firewall adjuster to get more slack out of the cable. And I did that just by threading it in, because this is, you know, you just rotate it and you can screw it. And then I got the cable attached up here. Then the problem was between this adjustment and this adjustment, the cable wasn't in an ideal spot, which led me to have to follow the cable all the way down to where it meets the clutch fork. And then this section is threaded as well. So I loosened off the locking nuts, the double locking nut, and then, you know, got a little bit more slack, got this all set up, which now there's more pulley strength on the quadrant, which means the clutch is that much easier to operate. All right, so hopefully you guys understand my little bit of a scribble there with the whole clutch setup, but let me tell you, man, I could barely put that pedal in. By the time we got it here and I was trying to offload it off the trailer, I actually had to take the floor mat out so I could actually be able to push the clutch pedal down far enough, because it was almost like it was staying engaged and staying in gear. So probably needed to be adjusted, but like I said, the main thing is that if you guys have a really heavy clutch, make sure you're using the furthest spot on the quadrant, so that, again, like a pulley does, it'll help take some of the tension off of that cable and not make you build up just one calf muscle. So getting back to the car, gone through, talked about the mods that I did, talked about the mods that the previous owner has done, and a little bit about the mods going forward. So other than a few little maintenance items, the biggest thing is, you keep the Saleen stripe sticker package, or does it come off? What do you guys think? So make sure you comment down below. Let me know what you guys think about the stickers. The wheels, I'm thinking about letting him borrow my Stern 3-piece Phase 2s, because I think that if we're trying to really make this car look the part, those Stern wheels would just look absolutely awesome on here. So maybe I'll have to get them sent down from Canada and we can bolt those on, see how they look. It'd be awesome actually to step them up to an 18 and then bolt them on here, and then this car would really look fire. Man, that'd just be awesome. So that's a wrap for Project Blue Brother. That's really not a project anymore. Now it's just kind of maintenance and upkeep and maybe a couple little individualization tweaks and maybe a wheel swap and a couple other little things. But I just wanted to give you guys sort of the whole rundown, because it has been pretty much 4 years now since I was working on this car, and it's cool that it's circled back. And I'm sure that Charles is gonna enjoy the car quite a bit as well, as much as I would have liked to have owned this car, because actually when I sold it, I was a little upset. You know, blue has never been a favorite color of mine other than like a navy, but Sonic is truly a beautiful color. Instagram loves it. This car probably gets the most likes out of any of my cars that I've ever posted, and it just looks great on video. So you know what, it was a hard one to let go, so I jumped at the opportunity to get it back, but most importantly, extended that deal to my friend Charles with first right of refusal, of course. So he's not exactly the kind of guy who holds on to things for too long, so that was an important clause to put in there when I told him that he could have this one. All right guys, we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you again for all your support, especially all you guys who watched to the end of my videos, and hopefully you enjoyed seeing the Blue Brother back in action here, and looking forward to all of the projects that we have between now and the end of the year. I'm actually already starting to book stuff in to 2023. So there's definitely a lot of content coming, so stay tuned for that. Make sure you check out Foxtoberfest, which is coming up. I'm going to be going to SEMA. So we got peak car show season right around the corner here. So that's a little overwhelming as well, but we'll get through it. It's going to be a great time at every event. So hopefully I'll see you guys there at those. And until next time, we'll see you here on the Infamous Project.